because here it's actually got the waterfall display, the frequencies, and all of this type of stuff. And now it is a much more difficult world. You can actually move your center point around for where you're at on frequency. I can sit here and hit this button and make it move, and we may have just locked up. Let's see here. Yeah, it locked up right there. But I can move the frequency around. I can make canned messages with this. I can hit a tune to tune on a particular frequency. I can go in. Let's see if it'll let, well, it won't let me into anything here right now. And it must have a dialog box up. Yep, it does. There we are. So now I finally got to clear the message. If I go in here, operating mode, I can pick any of those operating modes to work with. But unlike the other software that just decides what's the best mode and does what it is, you're completely driving here. You have complete control. By the way, you can select from 16 different Olivia modes, and you can even come up with your own mode. PSK, you can pick from literally a dozen modes there. Oh, here's QPSK, here's 8 PSK, here's PSKR. The point is, you have a lot of control here, but this is much more difficult to figure out what makes it work and everything else. Right now I'm in BPSK 31 mode, so if I hit the transmit, our standard PSK transmit goes there. Got done. I can turn right around and put in Olivia and say, yeah, I want to run Olivia 8250, because we like that mode. Hit the transmit. And you'll see it's a multiple frequency shift key mode. And then I'm done. You notice at the beginning of that transmission, it did a ba-da-da-da up there. That was it identifying, telling other people, I'm running Olivia. This is a weird mode right here, so that the other people know what you're doing on the whole thing. And unlike the other stuff, like where I showed you in the WinLink software, unlike the other stuff that says, oh, well, you got a gateway station and this is the frequency it's on and it's all automatic. Here, you've got to go up on the internet and find out where everybody's hanging out for Olivia, PSK, MFSK, everything else, find out when the nets are, everything like that. So you can do it, but it is very, very much human controlled to do this type of stuff. In addition to the FLDigi package itself, there are add-ons, and I'll close these out quick to get there. There are add-ons to the FLDigi package called FLARC, FLAMP, and FLMessage. And I'm just going to pick one of them out of here just to quickly do a quick show and tell here. With this, it says update your call sign info, because I just put it on here and didn't even configure it for use. But if I put all that information in, I can transmit files as a one-way transmission over and over again during an emergency event. This would be helpful for, like, for example, people are coming into a location, they need a map, they need to know what's going on. I can set this up to do an auto sync and just sit there and continually transmit the same information. What it does is when it transmits that information, it sends it block by block, and on the other side, if you're receiving it, you see the blocks coming across, and if it misses a block, it'll wait for it to retransmit it again and then pick up all those blocks. So it's a one-to-many transmit protocol. It's the only one that's available in the digital packages. Very, very, very powerful tool. We've used it in our emergency exercises, but that's an add-on that comes with the software. So you're running FLDigi as the modem that talks to the world, but this then tells FLDigi what to do. Similar fashion, FLARQ, and in a similar fashion there is FLRig, which I'll open up, and it's going to throw a fit because it's not even configured for anything. But FLRig, yes, says transceivers were not responding. It's full transceiver control, so you can control your transceiver. You got to tell allow access. But you have full transceiver control in FLRig, where you can sit there and tune your rig, change your modes, change your VFOs, do whatever you feel like in FLRig. And it also integrates with FLDigi, so in FLDigi you can say, oh, I want to go up to 20 meters and do PSK. Boom, it goes out there and talks to your radio and says, let's get everything configured so he can do PSK. So let me close out FLDigi. Confirm quit, yes. And so the other part I was going to point you towards here was if you want to get started with WinLink, this is in the presentation as a link. Go to okarl.org, NTSOK, has all the instructions of how to get started in WinLink. So it's a great place if you're trying step-by-step to install the software, get VARA working, all this. Mark Klein has done an awesome job of getting that information up there so you know exactly what you're looking at. There's also a link in the presentation. This is a Facebook group for the VARA HF AC program. I'll let it pull up in a second here. I didn't disconnect from the internet. Nope, I'm still connected. And you'll see a nice little group of people here, and they even talk about where to go. Where do we hang out and do this chatting back and forth? And then you'll see down here various people talking about the software. WSJTX, it's actually at the Princeton University site. Talks about the various modes. You can click in there, look at the program development. Great place to find out more about how to set up WSJTX.
Also works on Mac.
Yeah, also works with the Mac fine. Here is another link that I put in the presentation, the Beginner's Guide to FLDigi. Tells you what is it, what is the digital mode, and then it goes into all the details. Why all the different modes? Well, because each of them has strengths and weaknesses, and you got to figure out which one's the best one there. How do I recognize and tune in signals? Tells you exactly, answers your questions. So this is a great place to go to get set up, to get started, find out what hardware you need, how does your sound card work. Your receive pane, your transmit pane, gives you all the basics to start up here. So it's a really in-depth help site. Last but not least, FreeDV. Not going to do a demo with it today because we're right at the end of the presentation, but it is a software package that is digital voice. So what you can do is you plug in a microphone to your computer, not to your radio, but your computer, and your computer turns around and sends out a digital data stream that goes out over HF. And this has been in development since at least, I think, 2009 time frame, and it continues to just get better and better. You see the waterfall up there and everything else, but you can send data alongside with the voice transmission, and it's just a really, really good package. This is the basis for the M17 protocol project that is being launched on VHF UHF. This codec 2 is what they're using to actually do that project, and so it's very well vetted, very well tested. Talks about FreeDV, the release pages, everything going with it. Talks about basically FreeDV they view as the next transition, like we went from AM to sideband back in the 50s. This is the transition from sideband to digital voice. And it's just a really, 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 really good package. I have a lot of fun with it. And there's a group of people that meet on a regular basis on 20 meters. In fact, here are some of the frequencies that get used on a regular basis. In the US, it's 14.236. And sometimes if I get a little bit of time in the action, I'll switch on over there. And I've talked to guys, popped it up to the high resolution mode, and it's like we're talking on a local repeater. It's that good. It's really nice, a lot of fun. So the reason I threw this in is everything else we talked about is text-based, sending of pictures, files, things of that sort. This is actually gets you back to doing stuff on voice. So encourage people to check that out. And I'll throw this out here. If there's anybody has an interest in this, contact me, because I'd love to have a local group of us doing this on a regular basis. I've been only trying to work on this since 2013 to get people to talk to. And Scott Haley always tells me, you got to be patient, Padawan. You got to be patient.
Well, so one quick question for everybody. Jeff just mentioned the transition from AM to sideband. And so we call that a mode, an emission mode, right?
Yep.
So the mode of emission with AM is that there's a fixed carrier in place that's continuously transmitted, and then there's an amplitude modulated signal beside that is used to carry the signal. And the carrier itself, the carrier that's on AM, is intended for tuning and control of your receiver.
Yep.
Right? So your receiver uses that signal to catch on and do whatever's going on. When we went to frequency modulation, we still have a carrier, right?
Yep.
And in both cases, only one transmitter can be on the air at a time. For sideband, we removed the carrier and made the hardware much more expensive and much more difficult to manage, because now there's the signaling on it's like a real-time clock issue, right?
Yep.
If you have a real-time clock in your computer and it wanders, because in the 1970s they didn't have very high resolution crystal management. They didn't pick the right crystals, they didn't pick the right kind of hardware to manage getting in sync with that crystal continuously. Then your computer may wander a little bit. And your speedometer on your car is the same way. The diameter of your tires change. And the speed is. And so when we go to these sideband based modes and now pick a different modulation scheme from what we're using, which is just normal voice modulated as an AM, looking waveform. When we go to these multi-tone, signals like this, that's just using the same technology, but now we're putting the codification of the signal into software. So the hardware stops being the one that is only doing the modulation. The signal is now still audio, but we're using an audio scheme of modulation to get that signal through through to the other end. And that's what makes this really interesting, because now everyone can buy a sideband radio, and we can use software to elevate the hobby and elevate the modes that we use for communication, because now we can experiment.
Yeah,
To change hardware.
the big thing that you mentioned there is experimentation with this is very, very strong. All of those software packages that you see literally get updated usually monthly, where we have updates that go on through. I'm on the FL Digi run the latest and greatest version of it, and of course I don't care if it crashes because I'm going to learn something from it type thing. But the point is, we continuously are pushing the limits of what can be done out there, and so it's taking that radio that you have and making it more valuable the further you go along, because the software is putting other things in that radio never had the capability to do before. So that's what really makes it exciting to do this digital stuff. So last slide right here to kind of put a bow on it and pull it all together is, where can you go? Because I'll tell you flat out, this is a lot of information, a lot of stuff there. And where most people get stuck is they start working with it. It looked really great in the presentation. It was a lot of fun, and now I'm actually doing it for real. And I can't even get this to get my push to talk to go on my Digi rig. Not pointing at anybody in particular, but anyway, what do you do in that situation? Do you sit there and stew on it? No, you contact somebody, get some help on it. We've been through this stuff before, and we can usually do good hardware and software troubleshooting to figure out the basics of what's going on with this.
The interface devices, right? There's the internet that has.
Internet has.
You put your interface device name and
Yeah.
your radio name, right?
Yep.
And then you say setup or initial, whatever.
Yep.
And you search for that, and you'll find YouTube tutorials where people will dial through the options, show you the things to select, how to set it up.
Yep.
For Macintosh, for Windows, for Linux, for whatever, right?
Everything,
I mean, all of that has been done. Don't feel like you're the first one to do this,
Yeah.
because you're not.
Yeah.
The fact that it exists means that somebody's already made it work.
Yep. And in a lot of cases, myself and like, for example, on the FL Digi software, myself and about 3 or 4 other people try to do things to figure out how it breaks so that we can do a better job. You saw a lot of the user manuals and things of that sort. That's where that information came from, was, oh yeah, by the way, if you don't get the gain setting right on your input, your waterfall goes away. Well, we saw that. We saw something that people were running into and got it in there in the help file so people know what they need to do. Here locally, send me an email, ae5me@yahoo.com. So if you're struggling with something, send me an email and say, hey, I need some help here. We also post some of the stuff that we're doing to the RCWA Facebook page, some of the projects we're doing and things like that. We'll be doing more of that as the year goes on, where we'll actually be doing some digital interfaces and things of that sort. It's a defunct organization, but still a lot of good information out there is posted under the Tulsa Digital Radio Club blogspot. That organization folded in 2017, I believe it was, but there's still a lot of good information in that blogspot about how to get set up, how to get your radio interface, things of that sort. Oklahoma ARL, great place to get information on the WinLink software, how to get set up. Start there, and you will not go wrong. Online discussions, IONET has a lot of online discussion groups that are full of information, and if you just follow the threads over a period of time, you'll learn a lot about how people are operating and what they're doing. There's lots of Facebook discussion groups, you saw those as well. There's YouTube videos out there. Internet is your friend on this. I want to throw out one last thing to the group right here and hope that we generate some interest out of this. If there's enough local interest, we'll do a Tulsa or maybe even an Oklahoma WinLink or something of that sort. Net They could be on WinLink, PSK 31, Olivia 8500, MFSK, you name it, or what have you. My point is, if there's enough people want to do this, we'll find a way to get people together and do this on HF and have a good time with it on the whole thing, because that's what this is about. We used to have some nets. We kind of had a tight-knit group of people that were doing this on a regular basis. They went various spots in life that we eventually didn't have a critical mass to do this, but there's nothing to say that if we generate enough interest, we can't do this again. And encourage you guys, if you want to get into this stuff, that's the way to go there. There are other nets that are showing up on the internet, so you can certainly go to those to start getting involved. There's plenty of potential, but you know, we ourselves can do this type of thing. We're already talking about on the WinLink side, we had 12 different stations that participated in the simulated emergency training exercise, and we're going to put out a suggestion to them that we meet on a regular basis on WinLink and kind of have information going back and forth, because there were a lot of people that literally the week before we were doing the exercise were like, oh, I gotta get my sound card interface replugged into my radio. I can get my radio retuned up. By the way, what audio level did I set this to and everything? And if you don't do it on a regular basis, you're going to lose that information. And so by having it happen on a regular basis, we're hoping that as we go into further exercises, everybody will be like, yeah, I just need to plug it in and go. So. And take notes, yeah. Yep. So that's everything I had in the presentation. Questions? Are there questions from the group here?
Kind of on the Rogers County Wireless Association, and this is the VHF, HF thing, but what's a good place to get LMR 400, LMR 600? Can't find stuff.
Right now, I believe on the LMR 400, I believe the guys up in Kansas City, I'm trying to remember what the name of that place is up there. It's the ham radio place up in Kansas City. Yeah, Associated will sell you LMR 400. And there's also another place up in Wichita, which is the old Radio Shack that was up there. I can't remember. It's Derby Radio Shack. Derby up there will carry LMR 400.